it wasn't by accident. I mean, he had a very good idea of what Twitter was good for. I mean, whether or not you like Musk, and I can't say I do, he is very good at understanding technology. And like a lot of things, he's very good at jumping onto something that is going somewhere. I mean, if you look at the history of Tesla, he didn't actually start it. He was involved early on, but he kind of took over. Well, I think he saw Twitter and said, hey, I could do something with this. This is going someplace. The consequence, and there's about 20 different threads we could follow in that, but the consequence is that propaganda, we are much easier to fool now than we were in the 1930s. That's why Goebbels and such would love the internet. We are just much more easily duped because we only get what we want. We don't get any disagreement from the channels we follow.
So Elon Musk in 2022 bought Twitter, X. I'm curious if you think this was an intentional move or something that he kind of fell into. Like he just happened to own a large subsect of internet traffic now. And, so studies are coming out that he changed the algorithms in months leading up to the election. Is it true or not? I don't know. This is alleged, but there are things coming out that say this. So I'm curious if you think he went into it buying it on purpose, or if he just happened to find himself in a maybe Goebbels-like position. I'm not sure if Goebbels is the best parallel for Elon Musk, but...
Oh, it wasn't by accident. I mean, he had a very good idea of what Twitter was good for. I mean, whether or not you like Musk, and I can't say I do, he is very good at understanding technology. And like a lot of things, he's very good at jumping onto something that is going somewhere. I mean, if you look at the history of Tesla, he didn't actually start it. He was involved early on, but he kind of took over. Well, I think he saw Twitter and said, hey, I could do something with this. This is going someplace. And so he promptly proceeded to buy it. And from his point of view, it's been extraordinarily successful.
What are ways that we can kind of fight back against it, right? Like, we lost our editors. We no longer control the things that are fed to us. Historically, you have to choose the books you buy. You have to choose these things. Now they're just getting pushed onto you. What can we do as average people, as institutions? What can we do as the other side of the coin to fight back against this kind of propagandization?
I think the best thing people can do is to depend on sources that still have editors. And by that, I mean good newspapers and magazines. Now, these are not infallible. Of course, they have political leanings and so forth. But if you look at places like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, bit to the left, bit to the right of the political spectrum, but both of them have editors. And if one of their journalists tries to say something absolutely ridiculous, it's not going to make the pages of the New York Times or and there's a bunch of others. I mean, you've got magazines like The Atlantic.
Yeah.
On the right, you've got magazines like the National Review, very conservative, but it's got editors. And people check facts. So independent of whether you're to the right or to the left or somewhere in the middle of the political spectrum, you can find sources that actually have people checking what the writers, broadcasters have to say. What happens is the whole business of viral information is fascinating. I mean, let's say that I was out to get you and I had some kind of Twitter and social media following, which I've never been particularly interested in developing. And I printed a story that, you had done something absolutely awful and maybe a nice digitally altered picture. I mean, if I did this right, if I were good at it, this could go viral. And suddenly, the whole internet would be angry at you. Well, this is, not a very happy thing because people will believe it. They wouldn't actually double check who said this, who was this byteword guy, why is he doing it? And so that's why I really would encourage people to depend on sources in which one person alone is responsible for the content.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The second thing is to look for contrary opinions. Again, the problem with the algorithms is that they feed us what they think we already think. And so it reinforces our existing ideas. Now, this is very comforting because I'm perfectly right because everything I read agrees with me. But, if one is liberal politically, it's not a bad idea to read the editorial pages of the Wall Street Journal or the National Review. If one is conservative, it's certainly not a bad idea to read, the Atlantic Monthly or Harper's or the New Yorker, things like that. Because if one gets only the things one already agrees with, there's not going to be a whole lot of progress in your thinking.
Yeah.
So first editors, second variety.
Editors and variety. That seems very practical and very easy. But one question I kind of have is there kind of a boiling frog in a pot of water situation where editors will continue to edit, but as a culture gets more propagandized, the editors are also like, the window is shifting, right? The Overton window. So I guess a historical example I'd like to ask about is in Germany, for example, how did editors and these fact checkers function towards, I guess, the end of the war, towards the end of things going further and further haywire, some would say?
Yeah, well, of course you can corrupt editors and fact checkers, and that certainly happened in Nazi Germany. I mean, to the end of the war, German newspapers would declaring that victory was in sight and the Fuhrer would pull out miracles and so forth. So you can exert absolute control over them, in which case their functions disappear. Now, of course, the Germans, if they were willing to take the risk, had alternatives. They could actually listen to the BBC, broadcasting in shortwave. Now, that was dangerous because it could literally be a death penalty offense if you were caught. I mean, people would hide in the closet and listen very quietly to the BBC because they didn't want anybody to know they were doing it. So yeah, you could absolutely destroy that function. And there are some signs of that even in the US. I mean, you may have heard or read the phrase anticipatory obedience. Heard that one?
I have heard that one.
Yeah. And it's clear that even with the American media, editors and publications are becoming more cautious. So yes, you can absolutely corrupt those sources as well. And I think that's happening to some degree in the US. At the moment, as I said, if you read the top American newspapers, magazines, and so forth, you will get a variety of opinions. Now, whether or not that'll still be the case in a year, I certainly hope so, but I wouldn't put my last dollar on it because editors and publishers, like anybody else, are susceptible to pressure.
Yeah, and they want to keep their jobs. It seems like there's a lot of people willing to fire other people in these recent weeks.